The wind howled like it remembered him. Dust rolled across the plains in thick waves, swallowing the horizon whole. A lone rider cut through it, slow, steady, like a ghost refusing to stay buried. His coat was worn, his face shadowed beneath a hat pulled low, but his eyes were alive. Too alive for a dead man. Ethan Cole had come home. 10 years ago, they buried his name without a body. 10 years of silence, of war, of blood and survival in places no one in this quiet town could imagine. And now he was back. But nothing felt the same. The wooden sign at the edge of town creaked as he passed. The saloon doors still swung. The same dusty street stretched ahead, yet every face that turned toward him held confusion instead of recognition. He didn't stop. His horse carried him straight past it all, to the only place that had ever mattered. The ranch. Or, at least, where it used to be. Ethan slowed. His breath caught just slightly. It wasn't broken. It wasn't abandoned. It was alive. Fresh timber. Strong fences. Horses in the corral. Smoke curling from the chimney like a promise that someone had fought to keep this place standing. Impossible, he muttered under his breath. He swung down from his horse, boots hitting the dirt with quiet weight. Every step toward the house felt heavier than the last, like walking into a memory that didn't belong to him anymore. The porch creaked. The door opened. And then, she stepped out. Clara Whitmore. Her hair was tied back, loose strands dancing in the wind. Stronger than he remembered. Softer, too. Time had touched her, but it hadn't broken her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Her eyes locked onto his face, searching, doubting, breaking. "Ethan?" she whispered, like saying his name might make him disappear. His voice came low, rough from years of silence. "Guess I'm harder to bury than they thought." Her hand trembled against the doorframe. She didn't run to him. She didn't smile. She just stared, like she was standing between a miracle and a wound that had never healed. Behind her, the house shifted with quiet life. Ethan noticed it immediately. This wasn't just survival. This was a life rebuilt. Without him. And suddenly, the home he had fought to return to didn't feel like his at all. Clara didn't invite him in right away. Instead, they stood on opposite sides of the porch, close enough to touch, but separated by 10 years of silence neither of them knew how to cross. "You're not dead," she said finally, her voice steady but her eyes weren't. "Last I checked." Ethan's lips twitched faintly, but there was no humor behind it. "Didn't think I'd find my home like this, though." His gaze drifted past her, taking in the repaired beams, the polished wood, the signs of care in every corner. "You rebuilt it." Clara followed his eyes. Someone had to. There was something in the way she said it, quiet, guarded. Ethan stepped onto the porch. The boards creaked under his weight like they remembered him, even if she didn't know how to. "I left it broken," he said. "Figured I'd come back and fix it." Her expression tightened. "You didn't come back." The words landed harder than any bullet he'd ever taken. For a moment, neither of them spoke again. The wind filled the silence, tugging at loose edges of memory. Then, a small movement. Ethan's eyes shifted. There, near the fence, stood a boy. No older than 9 or 10. Thin but strong. Watching him with a kind of quiet curiosity only children have. "Who's that?" Ethan asked, his voice softer now. Clara stiffened. Just slightly, but enough. "That's Daniel." The boy didn't move. Didn't look away. Ethan felt something twist in his chest. Something unfamiliar, and yet not. The boy's eyes were sharp. Steady. Familiar. Too familiar. Daniel stepped a little closer, boots crunching softly against the dirt. "Ma," he called, not breaking his gaze from Ethan. "Who is he?" Clara swallowed. Her voice came out quieter this time. "An old friend." Ethan almost laughed at that. Almost. But he couldn't pull his eyes away from the boy. Something about him didn't sit right. Didn't feel like coincidence. And for the first time since he arrived, Ethan felt like the past wasn't done with him yet. Night fell slowly over the ranch, wrapping it in a silence that felt heavier than the desert heat. Ethan sat on the edge of the porch, a glass untouched in his hand. The lantern beside him flickered, casting shadows that moved like ghosts across the wood. Inside, Clara's voice drifted softly, speaking to Daniel, telling him it was time for bed. Ethan stared out into the darkness. 10 years of war hadn't unsettled him like this. Not knowing. That was worse. The door creaked open behind him. Clara stepped out, closing it gently so the boy wouldn't hear. For a moment, she just stood there, arms folded tight, as if holding herself together. "You're scaring him," she said quietly. Ethan didn't turn. "I'm not the one hiding things." Silence stretched. Then, "What do you want me to say, Ethan?" Her voice cracked, just slightly. "That I waited forever? That I believed in a ghost?" He stood then, turning to face her. "I want the truth." Their eyes locked. All the years, all the pain, all the words left unsaid, they sat right there between them. Clara shook her head. "The truth won't change anything." "It already has," he said, stepping closer. "That boy. Don't." Her voice snapped, sharper than before. But it was too late. Ethan's jaw tightened. "He looks like me." The words hung in the air like a gunshot. Clara's breath caught. For a moment, she said nothing. And in that silence, Ethan got his answer. Footsteps approached from the yard. Heavy, deliberate. Both of them turned. A man stepped into the lantern light, broad shoulders, a sheriff's badge catching the glow. Boone Carter. His eyes moved from Clara to Ethan, and something dark flickered behind them. "Well," Boone said slowly, resting his hand near his holster. "Looks like the dead don't stay buried after all." Ethan didn't flinch. "Depends who buried them." The tension snapped tight between them. Boone stepped closer, his voice dropping low. "You should have stayed gone." Clara moved between them. "That's enough." But Boone didn't look at her. His eyes stayed locked on Ethan. "Some things around here," he said quietly, "are better left buried." The wind picked up again, rattling the shutters like a warning. Ethan didn't back down, because now, he knew, and whatever truth they were hiding, he wasn't leaving without it. The night didn't sleep. Neither did Ethan. He stood by the corral, the moon casting long shadows across the land that used to be his. The same fences, the same sky, but everything beneath it had changed. Behind him, the porch creaked. "Clara, you shouldn't be out here," she said softly. Ethan didn't turn. Neither should secrets. Silence followed. Heavy. Finally, she stepped beside him. Close but not touching. "You want the truth?" she asked. "That's all I've ever wanted." Clara's eyes drifted across the ranch. "After they told me you were dead, everything fell apart. The ranch, the death's men came circling like vultures." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Boone." She nodded faintly. He wasn't sheriff back then. Just another man with power and something to gain. Her voice grew quieter. "I made a deal to keep this place." Ethan finally turned to her. "What kind of deal?" Clara hesitated. Pain flickered across her face. "The kind that keeps wolves from your door but never lets you forget they're out there." Ethan stepped closer, his voice low. "You trusted him?" "I survived," she snapped, then softened. "For this place, for my child." The word hit him. "My child," Ethan repeated slowly. Clara's breath faltered. "Too late to hide now." Ethan's voice dropped to a whisper. "He's mine, isn't he?" Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't look away this time. "Yes." The world seemed to still. 10 years of emptiness, and suddenly, everything had weight again. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, stepping back like the truth had struck him. "You thought I was dead." "I buried you," she said, voice breaking. "What was I supposed to do, Ethan? Raise him on a ghost?" Before he could answer, a gunshot echoed in the distance. Both of them froze. Another shot, closer this time. Then horses, riders. Clara's face went pale. "They've come to collect." Ethan's eyes hardened. "Then let them." Dawn came with dust. A line of riders cut across the horizon, their silhouettes dark against the rising sun. Armed, organized. Boone stood among them. Ethan loaded his rifle with steady hands. The calm before the storm settled over him like an old friend. Clara stepped onto the porch, fear and fire mixing in her eyes. You don't have to do this. Ethan glanced back at her. Yeah, I do. For what? This ranch. He shook his head. For you. The words landed deeper than any confession. Daniel appeared in the doorway, small but unafraid. Ma, what's happening? Ethan looked at him. Really looked this time. His son. Stay inside, Ethan said gently. Daniel hesitated. Are you gonna fight them? Ethan gave a faint, crooked smile. I've been fighting my whole life. The riders closed in. Boone stepped forward, his voice carrying across the land. Time's up, Clara. Ethan walked out to meet him, rifle resting at his side. She's not yours to collect. Boone smirked. And you are. Ethan's eyes didn't waver. The man you should have buried deeper. Tension snapped. Then, gunfire erupted. Dust exploded into the air. Horses screamed. Bullets tore through wood and earth. Ethan moved like the war never left him. Precise, controlled, deadly. But this time, he wasn't fighting for survival. He was fighting for home. For her. The ranch became a battlefield. Wood splintered. Smoke burned the air. The world shrank to heartbeats and gunshots. Clara grabbed a rifle, standing her ground beside the man she once lost. I'm not hiding this time, she said. Ethan gave her a sharp look, then nodded. They fought together, side by side, like they were always meant to. Boone pushed forward through the chaos, his focus locked on Ethan. This land was never yours, Boone shouted. Ethan fired, forcing him back. Wasn't yours either. They circled each other in the dust. Old history, old anger. You left, Boone growled. I stayed. I built power. I earned this. Ethan's voice cut through like steel. You took it. Boone lunged, gun raised. A shot rang out. Silence followed. Boone staggered, then dropped to his knees. Behind him, Clara stood, rifle trembling in her hands. I'm done running, she whispered. The remaining riders scattered. The fight was over. But as the dust settled, Ethan swayed. Clara's heart stopped. Ethan? He looked down. Blood. A dark stain spreading across his shirt. Then he collapsed. Days passed in a blur of fear and hope. Ethan drifted between life and darkness, the world slipping in and out like a fading dream. And then, morning light. Soft. Warm. He opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was Clara. Still there. Always there. You're not rid of me yet, he murmured weakly. Her laugh broke through tears. Don't you dare try. A small figure stepped closer. Daniel. He hesitated, then reached out, placing a careful hand on Ethan's arm. You really fought them all, he said quietly. Ethan looked at him, something shifting deep inside. Had something worth fighting for. Daniel swallowed. Then, almost like he'd been holding it in for years. Pa. The word hung in the air. Ethan's breath caught. Clara covered her mouth, tears falling freely now. Ethan reached for the boy's hand, gripping it gently. Yes, son. Outside, the ranch stood stronger than ever. Rebuilt not just with wood and nails, but with love, lost, and second chances. Ethan had come back to reclaim what he lost. But what he found instead was something greater. A family, a future, and a life he never thought he'd live again.